Greetings, Quiet. This video is going to be a bit different than what I've done before. This is an interview with one of the contestants from the famed show Ink Master. Now, this artist was from season 7 and season 9, and his name is Picasso Dular. But he's an artist beyond just tattooing, and I'm going to link his socials below so you can see all of his work because he's bloody fantastic. I am most certainly going to be doing more of these interviews. I'm going to do one real soon, directly after this one, that you might be excited to see, so, watch this space. But until then, here we go. What's up?
Hello.
What's happening, dude?
What's that?
I'm asking how you doing.
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I didn't know you had a tattoo on your forehead. Is that new?
No, I've had it for a while, at least a few years.
Is that a piercing on the forehead, on the tattoo? Yeah. That's badass, dude. Shit. That's interesting. Shit. Did that one hurt?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
It hurt more healing than it did actually getting it. I'm pretty good with piercings.
Yeah, I had 3 piercings done. Like, it was my first piercing ever. Like, I was the little good kid, and then when I turned 18, like, I went 3, and the top one took like a whole 2 years to like heal properly because I kept bumping it. So the forehead, holy shit. I actually have a crappy healing process. Are you using an iPhone?
Yes.
Because the camera's real good, so you can tell it's an iPhone. Best cameras out there on phones, dude. Are you currently in Ireland, or are you already back in the States?
Yeah. Northern Ireland right now.
Sweet. And you've been there how long now?
Almost a year. It'll be a year in January.
And you moved there for your partner now, your girlfriend. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it was all good that side. In Ireland, are you enjoying it there? Besides, obviously, as you mentioned before, not too fond of tattooing as of late.
Yeah, but it's been like that for the last like 5 years. I think.
Really?
Yeah. I just haven't. I feel like after the last season of Ink Master, I just haven't had the consistency or the rhythm. Like I just kind of been. I moved to a small town in New York, and I just haven't had a good rhythm with it for a long time now. Are you recording already or?
Yeah, I mean, I can take out whatever you want, dude.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's just the last season was really weird for me because at the time I was living in California, and
Was the actual show being shot in California as well?
I was actually in New York, but I was in California, and I was going through a really strange like time in my life. Like I was prescribed Adderall for ADHD and all that, and I kind of got lost in my medication. All I did was like sit alone.
That terrifies me. Yeah, I can get that. Shit.
I became so antisocial that I wish I never got on that medication, to be honest, because it was more of a it was worse than me doing like cocaine, or it was really bad. I just refused to be around people. All I wanted to do was work.
Lost in your work. Yeah, it's a good crutch.
But I also hold on. There's let me let my 1 second.
No stress.
Sorry about that. So I all I did was sit by myself in this like small. I lived in a garage. Like my friend had a garage, and he converted like this. He built a room in it, like a small apartment that I was illegally built. So I was living in there, and I was using the entire garage as my painting studio, and I just sat there alone. And then for about a year or two, and I just kind of went down this rabbit hole of just being so isolated and just introverted that it was not healthy. And then I got the phone call to do the new season of Ink Master, and I just said fuck it. I packed everything in my car, everything that I had, and whatever I couldn't fit just got left there. And I drove from California to New York
That's a
to
long
do it.
drive, dude.
Yeah, and I
Shit.
knocked, I knocked it out in like a couple days, And the weird thing is too, like I almost got I as soon as I left, this girl that I was seeing, that she had my key and she wouldn't give it back, and she tried to rob me, but I had left the night before. It was fucking crazy. Like I had left, drove all the way to New York, and then I found out that she brought some dudes around and like tried to rob me. So I was
Jesus.
to get out of there. And then when I got to New York to do the season 9, it didn't go as planned, because of the partner thing, and I felt like it was out of my control with the way we lost. And then I had to go back to my car full of my shit. Everything that was still in my car the whole time I was shooting, and I had nowhere to live because when I left California, I didn't. I just went straight to New York to do the show. So I had to drop my car off. I had all my stuff in it, and when I got done, I had to go back to my car, and I just didn't know where to go. So my friend Tom Bowman from season 9, I got a hold of him, and he said, "Come move out to Syracuse," which was 6 hours north of New York City, close to Canada. And yeah, and ever since I moved there, work was slow for me, and I lived there for at least 5 years. And ever since then, I've just had this. Everything's just been slow. Just haven't been able to get into the groove. So I'm trying to like branch out into other stuff. I've been doing more commission work, trying to do more illustrative stuff, and I'm trying to make these toys, and just
Oh, I saw
branch into other
that.
stuff.
Yeah, that was a cool.
And I'd really like to see. I'm a hardcore gamer. I compete. I do like fighting game tournaments and stuff.
Yeah,
And I'd like to kind of get into that world, because I feel like I consume so much as far as like graphic novels, video games, things like that. I feel like I need to go in that direction. But I'm in my 40s now, and I should have done that when I was younger, and I should have went to school. So it's kind of a hard transition because
sure.
I'm like stuck as a tattoo artist, and I can't really get out of it. It's like being a stripper where the money's so good that you can't.
You can't stop doing it because there's the
Yeah,
income.
right. And but work is so slow that for me personally, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not enjoying it like I used to, and I need a change in my life. I'm trying to find a new direction.
Do you think that tattooing was already souring for you before you started doing Ink Master, and that was like the final nail in the coffin, or was that just all where it started?
No, I was the first time I did Ink Master
Season
was season.
7, right?
Yeah, and that really made me feel like I couldn't tattoo. I fell into a depression after that. Like I literally sat in my room for almost like a month or two. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to go to work. I just asked for time off. And I just felt like, man, I must really suck at this. And then eventually I got back into the swing of things, and things started
The,
to.
the thing is, though, that show makes a lot of the people that are really good feel utterly
Right.
shit because they critique you for the minuscule, tiniest little imperfection compared to the
Right.
other guy that just happened to like nail it that day. I mean, there's
And then,
various artists on there that were like really bloody good, and they just fell by the wayside constantly.
yeah. And then the other thing was that they were like very vocal about, if you're not giving them good TV, then you're not going to progress no matter how you
I
are.
was gonna ask that. I was thinking a lot of like the bravado and like the beef people have seems very put on for TV.
Mm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. It's, like when we got done with, when you're in the circle and everyone's kind of talking shit about each other, that when we were done, most people would be like, "Look, I'm sorry, like
I didn't
because
mean
we knew
that.
do. I mean, I've done like I've done jobs where I was an extra in movies, and it's almost like you're an extra, but you're also the star. So you have to put in, you want to be noticed. So
True.
you put in that, like, well, they want me to talk shit, so I'm going to talk shit. But then you feel bad and you say, sorry about that. You try to keep things cordial once the cameras are off. Once the cameras are off, it was really, I actually liked it because it felt like a tattoo camp. We're all sleeping in
Cool.
like, big room together. You get to sit there and talk about your dreams and draw together, and that shit was cool. But we knew we had a job to do, and that job meant, you know, you're trying to win and also give them good TV. So the more you give them, more personality you give them, then the more you'll get camera time. Because they said you're not just competing for money, you're competing for airtime. And the show, I don't think that ultimately, I don't think they really give a shit how talented you are. They want ratings.
Mm.
So television. It's
Like,
not if if everybody was getting along and it was like one big kumbaya thing, then it wouldn't be interesting. What makes the show interesting is the drama, the
yeah,
controversy,
it makes sense why people like Kyle Dunbar kept getting invited back because he was such a hothead. He was good for TV, especially since
yeah,
the producer of the show is Spike TV. That's kind of like their thing. All that freaking heated nonsense. I mean, there was a few people in the because when I really got into Ink Master, it was mostly on YouTube clips. And then loads of commenters. I can't recall who they were referencing, but as you were saying, like some of the people that won didn't win because they were the best. It was just kind of like they won by default. Like they were good, but also that they played the game well and they were good for TV. So it was kind of so the guy who won wasn't the best, but he was the best all rounder for like TV and so
yeah.
on.
There's certain things they're looking for. You know what I mean? And it's like in the Olympics. Everybody does the same move, but whoever does it the cleanest, the most, like perfect landing, that's what they're looking for. They want you to do. They don't care if you have a person. I tried to like implement like my style and like certain like little things, but they're looking for specific kind of line work.
Pizzazz.
Kind of specific kind of like the way you color, the way you shade. They don't want you to do anything like leave open-ended lines or fade things out or try to. They want things like very like almost. I don't want to say traditional, but it has to have like a traditional foundation for them to be like, okay, that's solid. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
saying that, the judges they often contradict themselves. So let's say your challenge for this particular tattoo is like your precision application, and then somebody
mhm,
does something with amazing color, but that wasn't the point of that particular
right,
challenge. So then they berate this one person for not having like precision application, and then they blow smoke up this other tattoo artist's ass because their color was amazing. I'm like, well, that wasn't the point though.
right.
So they often contradict themselves where previously they would berate you on doing something this way and then the next time around they wouldn't. So I don't know.
Well, the truth is like they know who they want to win. They know who they want to progress. They know who is going to be the martyrs, who they're just going to sacrifice, no matter,
That's
and that
scary.
was the,
Shit.
yeah, because when me and Lalo got there, the people before us said that before they even got kicked off, they looked up at the ceiling and saw a post-it note with me and Lalo's name. So they had already planned for us to come in their place. And these artists were really good. So it didn't, so there's a narrative that they have that we don't know about. They have a very
Sure.
structured narrative like, okay, this is going to be our star. This is who we're going to push. This is going to be the comeback kid.
Um.
This person is, they even have people on there that they know are bad tattooers, but they're there to balance it out. And then they have good tattooers that they know they're going to kick off to make the pressure feel like it's real, like anybody can go. So, and it's really interesting the way the whole thing works. I got a chance to kind of walk through the building, and the way I looked at it was like the whole thing is kind of ran like a government. You have your people at the top that you don't see very often, and as it trickles down to the lower floors, you have like your security guards, you have like the people watching on the cameras on one floor, you have where the celebrities are, you have the person at the top that's watching and controlling everything. In the judge's ears, you can, the head person is talking to them and telling them, like, we're probably gonna, get rid of this person, or, say this or say that. So the judges aren't really the judges.
They
They're
scrutinize
just
everything then to make sure it goes the way they want.
the judges are just the faces. They're just the celebrity faces. The real judges are the people in their ear above them that you don't see, and they're calling the shots. They're saying who comes, who stays, who goes, who's
Jesus.
giving good, who's who's doing what. So and so's not talking very much. Let's get rid of them. Blah 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 blah.
Because so like, as a person like yourself who doesn't seem very sparky like the other guys, I imagine that by the time season 7 was already midway through, they judging by what you said, you weren't what they were looking for because you weren't, sparkly,
Yeah,
pizzazz.
tried to. I tried to be more pizzazzy in season 9 than 7, because 7 was I didn't know what to expect. Season 9, I was a little more. I kind of knew what was going on, and I was like, okay, let's. I tried to be a little more outward, but I also didn't want to not be myself, no matter what. And I just couldn't. I can't. I can't be fake and then like be around my peers and
Oh, I'm the same.
like it
I
just.
can't filter myself for you in a way that makes you happy, and in your case, for ratings.
I don't know. And I tried to be people's friends on the show. I've helped out some artists like during the challenge. They come to me and they were like, yo, what do you think of this? And I'd be like, you should try this or draw this like that. And, like there was one challenge that Anthony had won. And I think it was because I helped him out with like the design. But it's not like I don't really care. I'd rather be there for my fellow artist, whether I win or lose. And when they walk away, they always remember me as like, no matter
See,
what, I was
that
still
that there is already what's wrong for the show. They want everyone to be at your throats. Like so it was always seemed like every artist wants to be the best desperately and will do
right.
anything, fight tooth and claw to be that person. And by
Hmm.
what you've just said, that's clearly not what they want.
No,
Don't
no,
be nice.
no.
Be a dick, apparently.
That's why we lost in season 9, because me and Lalo were kind of butting heads a little
I
bit.
could
And
tell on cam.
yeah, when it was time for him to tattoo, I just wanted him to do his best job. So I said, I'm going to give you space. I'm going to do the drawing. This is all you. I trust you, because I figure if you give me space and trust, then I'm going to do my best. And I felt like if I did that, he will do a good job and I don't have to worry. But I always kick myself in the ass because I felt like I should have hung around him. I should have just gave them good TV and been up his ass and been like,
I recall
but
I did
but
a bit of homework before the interview, and I kind of rewatched a few highlight clips of season 9 of when you guys were tattooing, and even on cam you said you're just gonna give him his space. You're not gonna hover around him, and that's quite literally what you did. You could see that.
yeah, that's kick myself in the foot, because I was like, well, I kicked myself in the ass. I I should have I should have stayed on him, because it would have given them more TV, and I could have at least caught what he was doing before it was too late.
Isn't it
But
a strange dynamic though to be forced to tattoo with somebody else that's the same thing? And
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
everyone does anything creative, let alone tattooing their own way. And now you have
but
to, so whoever starts the design and starts doing it their way, the other person has to follow suit and fill in the gaps for the idea you had. It must be a really strange dynamic.
yeah. I was taking a risk. I was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do what they expect me to do and try something different. Like give them space, let them just feel free, and it might work out. But it really didn't. And honestly, I don't think he wanted to be there as bad as I did, because
Yeah, he
he
seemed
just
very free spirited. I mean, the first time I saw him as well, let alone season 9, he seems quite, free spirited, not caring much.
honestly, I think he was homesick, and me, I was homeless. So I was ready to just go all the way. I had nowhere else to go. That was my meal ticket. For him, he was homesick and he had just had a kid, and so I don't know if he really had it in him the same way I did. Because I was really upset when I got kicked off that season because I felt like, for fuck's sake, like I had nowhere else to go. I really wanted to get to the end of that. I was so hungry for it. I'll do it again. If they ask me, I'd do it again. It's just the job at the end of the day, and
Sure.
I don't. I love entertainment. I've always, ever since I was a kid, I've been into like entertainment, dance, acting, theater. It's all the same to me,
It's it's
And
it's
if
all it's all being creative. I mean,
yeah, and
I
creative.
find if you meet somebody creative and they stifle themselves to one thing, they're doing themselves a disservice because generally you can get into anything creative for them,
Yeah.
or various things at least. Did you
Hmm.
know Lalo like beforehand, like before the show, and you
Oh,
guys were like forced to work
I
together
know.
because you knew him beforehand?
Yeah, I knew him for years beforehand, like big long time. We partied together, we hung out together, done some shit together, and we worked in a couple shops together. And he's like I always consider him like my older brother, even though we're about the same age. But he just always had his shit together before I did, so I always looked at him like he was my older brother.
Look, I
And
get that. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
he was pretty good. He came to New York from Columbia, and he had a really nice loft. He really went from having nothing to really thriving in New York, which is really hard to do. So I always looked up to him for that.
it's a big city. Well, it's the one place everyone dreams of going. At least if you're
Yeah,
partially creative, so I imagine that must be quite a thing to behold when you. And you say he's from
yeah.
Colombia.
Oh yeah,
I was trying to place the accent the entire time. I'm like, shit.
from Bogota, Colombia.
So, who came up with your name for the show House of Monkey? Was that just like made up on the spot, or
That was his shop. That was his shop.
okay? Oh, so those shop names you see, there are real shops that get the name gets used.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like made up on the spot like
No,
Survivor does for their tribes. Just
right,
name.
right, no, his shop name.
It's pretty rad. House of Monkey.
Yeah.
I've always had I don't know why I've always enjoyed simians, monkeys, and shit. I don't know why. I was like, why isn't there a Marvel hero with monkey powers? It'd be fucking rad. Like some sort of silverback or simian or some shit. That'd be cool.
Mm.
So to actually get in the show, is it like a process, like this extensive audition process, or do they like call you up? Hey, we've seen your stuff. Come in.
Well, honestly, I've auditioned for almost every season since season one, and I didn't get on until season seven. And the first time I did an audition, I did like the traditional. I went down to the studio, sat in front of a camera, did an interview. You know, they took my information and then told me if I get a call back, then we do another interview on video format. And I didn't get the call back, but they kept my information. And then after that, I would get these emails, you know, new season, blah blah blah. So from there, I started applying online, and I've done a couple of interviews. I did an interview for I think what season five, I think season 4 or 5, and I got the double interview and everything, but I didn't get it. So they always had me like they always kind of had me on the back burner, and then eventually when season 7 came around, I got through, and they were like, all right, so
And we're like
yeah,
fucking excited when you got that final callback. Like, okay,
yeah,
come.
yeah, yeah.
And then on the very first day, they have you build machines. That must have been shitty.
Yeah, that was that's I talked to my the guy who taught me how to tattoo, and that was the first thing we learned. I was like, yeah, but damn near 20 years ago. Like I haven't once rotary machines came out, the electric.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've used one before.
I haven't because I used the traditional machines for like 10, 15 years, and then for the last like 5 or 6 years, I stopped using those. So I kind of forgot how to build them. So I was like, oh shit, this was something
Thing
I
is,
wasn't
I'd say
expecting.
I get it's like a rite of passage essentially when you're training whatever new
I made
tattoo artist. But like if it's been that long, they can't expect you to keep knowing how to do it as if it's like a permanent thing.
yeah, it's I'm not. I've never really been like a mechanic kind of guy. You know, I don't really
Oh,
know much
same.
about cars.
I'm with my hands. I'm shit.
And even when my mentor was teaching me how to build the machines, I understood, but I was like more anxious to just tattoo, you know, like I wasn't really into the building the machine thing. I built a couple machines and I used them. But he tuned them up and fixed them, made sure they ran well, and that was all I needed. And I just wanted to tattoo, you know what I mean? Um,
I
and
suppose
then once,
they have to constantly keep coming up with new things to do that is somewhat
yeah,
related to tattooing. The challenges, something creative. I mean, sometimes the challenges are a little bit odd. Like I remember the one they had to fill up cups of water with dye and make like an image from above. I'm like, that's silly, man. I mean, it's cool, creative, but
yeah,
it's silly.
some of those challenges are quite silly. The one that they had us do where we had to take, what was it, plastic or garbage or something and make art out of it was so, I don't know. It was like it was uncomfortable, stressful, and I just I, I got too ambitious with it, and I don't
The thing
know.
is,
It
though,
was just
in that environment, right? I mean, being a tattoo artist is already quite stressful because you have to aim for perfection. You can't make a fuck up. But then they put you in an environment like that where they're watching your every move with 100 on cameras and producers and other contestants who you are competing against to get the money in the end. I can
the
imagine
environment.
it puts you into this weird space where you kind of like try harder than you have to. In this case, like the challenges or whatever.
And some of those challenges we were doing in like hot sun. You know, we have the elements too, or it's either freezing cold or it's burning up hot. You're outside, and it's like, God damn, like this is. And it takes all day to shoot. It takes a long time to do one episode. And they make one episode feel like it's in one day, and it's
Yeah,
not.
it
It
looks
takes,
very quick. I mean, half the
it's almost a
challenges. I mean, the one that they went onto a ship or out of God knows what. I mean, in a large town or city like New York, getting there is already half the day gone.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you guys can spend the whole day doing that thing, and then they shoot it and they kind of just compress it into like 10 minutes, and it does feel very short. It feels like
Yeah,
the entire episode, flash challenge, as well as the tattoos and the critique at the end, all feels like one day. Easy, no
yeah.
problem. Yeah, we forget how short days are. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with you obviously watched the show beforehand, right? Up until when you first got on.
I kind of skimmed through a lot of it. Honestly, I cannot stand reality television. I hate it.
I can't either, but what I like is when I catch the clips where it's just like
Yeah,
it's just showing the tattoo or whatever. That's kind of fun. But like they started doing that whole inviting canvases back for redemption, fucking
yeah.
stupid shit. I'm sorry, that's terrible, terrible TV.
So I was supposed to do one of those, but I never. It never like lined up. They asked me to if I wanted to, and I said yeah. Um, but it just never lined up, and I never got it.
I mean, sometimes it's wholesome, like there's actual, but a lot of the time, like sometimes the canvases complain about the stupidest shit just for TV.
Yeah.
It's like you went there for a free tattoo, man, and you got you got a fucking amazing tattoo, but you're not picky about one little thing.
Hmm.
Jesus. But again, it's for TV, so they'll conflate anything out of nothing. So
Yeah.
is Nunez as much of a dick as he seems, or is he just picky about the kind of tattooing one does?
I honestly I thought the judges were okay.
Really?
I actually Nunez before I was on the show,
he
and we
he,
met.
he feels
I
like
met
the Simon Cowell because he like berates you about every little thing, but I get why he does it. I'm sorry, carry on.
that's really their job.
Yeah,
They don't. They don't, they're really cool once the camera's down. To be honest, um, you know, like their job is to be like that. That's what's paying their bills. You know,
sure.
so I don't really care because it's like they're acting, we're acting. It's all kind of acting in a way. It's an acting gig at the end of the day. It, you know, you just got to do what you got to do to
Yeah,
stay on the show.
I figured, I mean, even if it's I mean, it's all for show, clearly, but I always feel like a portion of the person's true self kind of peers through sometimes. So
Yeah,
Chris seems nitpicky about the littlest things, fair, and Dave Navarro seems kind of chill.
yeah, he was really chill, to be honest. But I just think those guys have been tattooing for so long that they might kind of be like that, but I don't think they're like fully like that. Like if you were to probably guest spot in their shop, they'd probably be so much more relaxed and chill. They'd probably say, "Yeah, that doesn't look very good. Maybe try this, do that." But their show personality is a little bit different from their
Sure, I
person.
imagine it would be. The first time I ever saw Chris Nunez was on the first tattoo show that I can ever recall, Miami Ink,
Oh yeah,
with Ami James. He didn't have a beard back then. He was just he looked quite
that
scruffy.
shit was so that show was so volatile. They were always like
Oh yeah,
fighting.
oh yeah.
I was like worse than Ink Master, if you ask me.
Yeah, but
But that
I think back
started it.
that was like the earlier days of that kind of TV. So it wasn't like made into the thing that it is now. So it's kind of realistic-ish.
Yep, Miami Ink, LA Ink, all that shit was like kind of what started the Ink Master
Yeah,
TV shit. Yep.
I believe it was Miami first, and then LA,
Yeah.
and then New York in
Yeah.
Wooster Street. Yeah, I used to love those shows. Being a fucking a kid with your head in the clouds. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. And then I started tattooing, but I was called a scratcher. I've taught myself, and it wasn't bad, but
Mm.
it wasn't fucking good. So half the ones that I have are all like random things that I got on from friends or myself. Oh,
Oh,
that's a stormtrooper with the
oh,
sugar skull strings. Then I got a bunch of
nice.
random ones here that my friend did and shit and here and
Nice.
everywhere. They're all not great, but they're memories. So it was all like, hey, we want to do tattooing. Let's do really bad ones to each other. I mean, this one's
Mm.
scarring so bad after all these years. No biggie. You were with Saint Mark in season 9. Is he really that much of an arrogant prick?
No,
Really?
he was actually. I really liked him actually outside of the cameras. I thought he was a really
Because his
every
personality seems very cartoonish. That's why I'm like, it doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem real.
him on the show though. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Him being that character is what kept him on the show and kept other people on their toes because he was getting mad airtime. So they loved it. They loved it. Everybody loves a villain. You know what I mean?
That's
Villains get.
Oh, yeah, they love him. That's what I'm saying. Because Saint Mark's level of villainy, if you want to call it that, seemed very animated. That's why it didn't seem all that real to me. But as opposed to the average viewer, it's like, oh, that guy's a dick.
I thought it was quite genius, to be honest. And I wish I could have came up with like a persona because it would have probably benefited me in the long run. You know what I mean?
Like a version of yourself. Like if I'm ever in that kind of situation, not yours, but something similar, I kind of figure out a version of myself. It's like pretend. It's like, yeah, I could be that guy
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah. And because after I hung out with him outside of that, and he was like super cool. He's a musician. We talked like about music, and he was a really cool, down to earth guy. So he just knew how to play the game.
Sure.
And it's a hustling game. Once you're in that show in that environment, it's like who are you going to be in order to survive this show?
The
If you're
gauntlets.
just gonna yeah, and I tried to go in there and be just a nice guy, and I don't think it worked out in my favor. I tried to be really nice with the other artists. I tried to help artists out whenever I could, and I don't think it worked out for the cameras. And I just felt really when it came time to talk shit about each other, it just didn't feel right for me. You know?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's if I had to put myself in that situation, I get it. There's a fine line between just like talking smack and actually getting behind what you're saying. Like, I can't be that guy. Fuck it, that's a dick. Out of the people that you were with in season 7 and season 9, who were like in your opinion, like the coolest to get along with? Who were like the chill folk besides Saint Marq or Lalo?
Tom Bowman was
I don't,
one of my.
I don't recall him. Let me look him up.
Then he's the one who gave me a job out in Syracuse, New York, after the show. He was really cool. I liked his style. He's a wonderful artist and a really good guy. He's a dad, and all he cares about is making art and taking care of his family. He was really down to earth.
Oh, okay, I see him. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on. And you guys all stayed then in that like what looks like a communal like apartment with rooms and shit, because there's always like that lounge area you guys are in between.
Yeah.
And you guys is just like always shoot the shit when the cameras are off, so you aren't being assholes to each other.
We hung out. I brought my guitar, and some of us played music, and we draw. They gave us art supplies, and we draw together.
That's pretty cool.
Just chill. What kind of food you wanted, and just be like, I want pudding and fucking crackers.
Pudding and crackers, what a combination.
Whatever you wanted, they'd get it for you, and it was cool. We're all locked up together, so
and
it felt like juvie too. Like
really,
you couldn't leave. You were just there, and
for like how long were you there though? Like, if somebody, I mean, I'm not sure if you'd know, but if somebody lasted the entire season, how long were you there while filming and not being able to leave?
I think for like season 9, we were there for like almost like 3 weeks. It felt like. Yeah.
Now imagine the guy that stays till the very end. Jesus, he must be there for a while.
Yeah. Season 7, I was there the longest out of both seasons, so I was there for at least a month. I think a month or and a half, something like that.
I mean, I always think in these kind of shows, I imagine tattoo artists have a bit more freedom. But how do you tear that much time away from the work that you have to do? Surely you have to, if you're an artist on the show that works for a studio with or for someone, you have to let them know, I could be gone for a week or a month.
Yeah. You just gotta let them know ahead of time. It wasn't so bad, and we were getting paid too. Like we got like a certain amount we got paid per day for being there. Or anytime, no, we got paid every time we were shooting. We had a couple times where in the week you have a day off and then you don't get paid for that. But anytime you were shooting, you were getting paid. And the more you come on the show, the higher your pay gets. So it was kind of more incentive to come back.
Was doing all the B-roll and self-narration kind of a painstaking thing? Like when you're introduced or when you're like between takes, there's always that shot of the tattoo artist in like this black room, just like talking clearly afterwards as if it was just happening.
Yeah, it's all shot separately, and it's all when you get kicked off, you have to stay and go through binders this big full of questions. Like when you got kicked off the show, you had to go to your hotel and wait, and then they call you in, and you have to come in, and however long it takes, 2 or 3 days. But you have to go through all the questions and responses. So there's like a thing they do where they'll say, act like you smell a can of rotten tuna, and you'll go, oh. And then they'll go, look to your left. And imagine like the person next to you agree with, and you're like, oh. And then they go, look to your right.
Okay, fuck. I always knew shit. There was something going on with that, man.
All these like emotes almost, like where you respond to something that's not there, and then they use those wherever they think it's appropriate.
Yeah.
So something, you'll see the artist go like,
oh, yeah.
Shit. Really responding to that in person. Those responses are just shot separately.
All fabricated, man.
Yeah. They just implant it wherever they want,
Fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
You're ruining the illusion, guy. Shit.
I think now people kind of know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, you were surprised.
That whole method that they use is for every reality show.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. Like the ones where celebrities all live together. When they have those interviews, it's all the same shit. Because a lot of those production teams will talk about the other shows they worked on. They worked on, Housewives or fucking this with celebrities in the house and this shit. And it's like the same method, the same techniques. And so that they know how to get through it, you know?
So it seems like, I mean, ever since reality TV has become a mainstay, they've knuckled down the format into being what it is now.
Yeah.
So the now it's just copy and paste, and then
Yep.
there's no thinking.
Yeah.
Just here you go.
It works for everything, so they just, copy and paste and do it.
Let's see. I got some questions here.
Yeah.
We've gotten through most already, just like organically.
How's it out there where you're at? You're in South Africa, yeah?
Yeah, it's wonderful now. It's about springtime, so it's warm. It's gonna be summer soon, so it's warm. At night it's warm.
There's one place in the world I haven't been is.
Oh, you'd fucking love it, yeah, dude. Oh god damn, like it's bad because we have like rolling blackouts for like the past decade because they haven't really kept up the power grid. But I mean, the grass is not always greener. My dad's born in England, so I could technically just grab a passport and bugger off there. But I'm like, things are pretty shit there too right now. So,
what about like the wildlife and shit like that? Do you go outside and like see cheetahs and
no, that's a misnomer. But that's because the Americans, man. I'm sorry, America has this weird idea that there's safari at my back door. However, at my back door, it is like that. Not cheetahs, but there's guinea fowls, there's springbok, blesbok sometimes, and peacocks fucking everywhere. But that I live on an estate next to the sea, so a 5-minute walk from here, I have the ocean.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've always lived in small towns, places like Christmas Rock or Cove Rock, like these small communal areas, a half an hour drive from the nearest city. But
how's the political climate out there? Is it like
it's pretty gruesome right now. It's very very black on white currently. But again, that'll pass. It'll pass. It always does. It's always people fighting for power that have no right being in power. The usual shit. But it's not all that bad. Really isn't. I mean, I can deal with the blackouts even with the work that I do. I just let them know, hey, I have a blackout schedule in 2 hours for about 3 hours. So no, and they're like, no, we'll mark it down. No stress. Even international companies that hire Africans because we're cheap labor, because of the exchange rate, they know. They're like, hey, fuck it. If they're off for 3 hours, we're still getting a bonus out of how cheap we pay them. So fuck it, But yeah, I think you'll dig it, yeah, man. Are you more of a small town? New York is a big fucking city, but do you like taking things at a more easy pace, chill environment?
I can go either way. I've lived in big cities and I've lived in small towns, and I've also been all over a lot of places over in Europe, and I've seen, slow towns and slow villages, and I kind of
and seeing us.
I moved around so much my whole life that I know how to adapt to wherever I'm at.
I've moved a lot as well, but they're generally in one province or one state, if you want to call it that. I've always moved around the province. I've moved like 18 times in one province in my life. I like moving, but I like familiarity. I went to our capital, the largest city. Actually, it isn't the capital, but people think it is. The largest city is called Johannesburg. It's right up fucking Anyways, the first ever Comic-Con in the whole of Africa came like 5 years ago. Ever.
Yeah.
And then my now wife and I went. That's when I proposed. It wasn't a Pokeball. Fucking I choose you shit. And I hated that city so much. It was just so busy. I mean, we were staying with a friend, and I asked them where's the actual event where Comic-Con was taking place was at the racetrack called Kailami. And I said, how far is it from here? No, it's up the road. It's not far from here. That was like an hour's drive. Up the road to me is 15 minutes, man. Fuck's sakes. Fucking big cities suck. I hate them so much. I'm very small town. I've always been this snail's pace kind of guy while being very hyperactive. Yeah.
I like big cities to a certain degree. I my favorite is like living outside of a big city but having access to it.
Fair enough.
Kind of like when you go home, everything around you is a little bit wider, a little bit slower. You can relax. You can get fresh air. But when you need to work or need to just you want a little action, you're not too far from the city. you take a train in or something and have access to it.
You know, in this country, you don't take the train. It's not safe. It's just not safe to take the train. If you're in a big city like the capital or like Cape Town, take the train. But if you go to any smaller cities, especially the Eastern Cape, which is where I'm at, the province that I'm in, you don't take the fucking train. You don't take those trains are so. It's not even the people you have to worry about. It's the the train derailing from age. They haven't upkept that shit in a long time. Yeah. Over here, you take an Uber because that's not available to us, or you just get a friend to take you. I mean, for the most part, the biggest city I think in the Eastern Cape, which is where I'm at, is Port Elizabeth, which is now being renamed to a Xhosa name, which you will not be able to pronounce. Gqeberha. Try and say that one. It's the Xhosa click. So that Gqeberha.
Gqeberha.
And then like as in Yiddish, so like Gqeberha.
Gqeberha.
Close enough, man. Yeah, that was cool. Shit, yeah. So they've renamed it. They're slowly decolonizing all the names of cities, but it's costing the country a fortune. So here nor there. So,
I just recently did one of those heritage things where you put your DNA. They test your DNA. I want to do that. Yeah. It turns out that I am Nigerian.
Cool.
And part Ethiopian, and then my like white side is a lot of European. I'm like, I've got a lot of European.
Yeah, but Europeans, they fucked each other for centuries, dude. They were like intermingling for a long ass time. So if you're a European, you're most of them.
I think it's like Nigerian, Ethiopian. I have Welsh, Scottish.
My name is Welsh.
Irish. I have a small percentage of South American, like indigenous. It was like at least 7 or 8 things. I didn't know I was mixed as I was.
If you come to, I know that if you use the word colored overseas, it's a bad thing. Over here, it's pretty fucking normal. Because if you mention colored here, it's technically what you'd be. But then coloreds have formed their own like community and they're proud. So if you meet a colored, at least if you've lived here your whole life, you can pick them out. Like, that's not a black guy, that's a colored. But if you go overseas, you're African American. No, he's not. He's a colored. You can't say that. It's offensive. No. Like, you tell he's colored and he'll be proud of that shit, dude.
I've never agreed with the term African American. I don't.
They're American.
I think you can call someone African American back when the slaves were freed and they're technically from Africa and now they're. But now I'd be like, no one, they're just American. I feel like when you call someone an African American, it's like slightly saying you're not American. It's like no, they're.
Remember, race is this idea created from colonists way back to separate us, where the very idea is stupid because where's the line?
Race is more of a social construct.
Oh, for sure.
The idea of being racially divided is more of a social construct.
And it's working very well till this day. Till this fucking day it works. I mean, for example, there's that show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There is there's a character in there. He kind of forms a relationship with Officer DS, like that fucking maniac. Everyone thinks he's Arab. I'm like, no, he's Greek. So if you're black, you're from Africa. If you're brown, you're Arab, you're Indian, and so on and so forth. However, if you go along the peninsula, going right through the Mediterranean, most of the countries that are along the Mediterranean tend to have tan skin. So the guy you think is Arab is actually Greek. So where do you draw the line between brown and white? Because Greeks are white, but they're brown. So,
yeah.
It's a weird fucking line to draw. So if you ever come this way, fuck it, I'll put you up. I've got a spare room. This is actually my spare room. This is my office. There's a double bed right there. I can look at it right. But if you come this way, you'd have to fly from where you are. You most likely have a joint flight from Dubai through to Johannesburg and then fly for 2 hours from there to here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put you up for a while. Hell yeah, it's fucking dope down here. I love it. I can hear the ocean. Yeah. I can't even hear traffic. I just hear the sea. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I actually, where I'm at in Northern Ireland, I'm in a seaside town.
Sweet.
I can walk down the street and I'm at the beach.
The irony is, I've always loved living by the sea, but I never go to the sea, like ever. It's a really bad habit. Like I can hear it and it's wonderful, but I never leave the house. I work on my computer and I have fun,
Hmm.
and I've literally my downtime is my PC, so it's really bad.
I grew up in Hawaii too, and everyone was like, "Did you surf?" I was like, "No, I was more into being in the city part and like getting into trouble. I wasn't really a person. I do like the beach. I like going every now and then, but
Not a,
you know,
you're like going every now and again, and like it fuels the soul, but you're on a beach bum.
yeah, yeah.
I saw I caught by accident, just by chance, on the when I was watching some of the clips from season 9. Yeah, is there a Pikachu on your forearm?
I have like 3 Pikachus on me. I got a Pikachu here,
Yeah, that's the one that I saw.
I have a Pikachu that looks like Rick Sanchez,
They're cool.
and then I have I call him the reverse Pikachu that I came up with. He's red instead of yellow, and he spits fire and he's
Oh,
evil.
sweet. Oh, yeah. Fire type Pikachu. I've always liked electric
Yeah,
types, like Electabuzz. I don't know. In the first series of Pokemon, there weren't very many electric types, and I felt, that's pretty cool. I like them. The Pokemon's gotten so fucking extensive. I can't even. I used to be able to name all 151, and then kind of most of the Johto League after that. But after that, I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's happening. I can't even keep track.
no.
So I suppose at this point you've lost track of how many tattoos you got, huh?
Yeah, I have quite a few. I still have a lot of in though. I can't afford tattoos.
Just tattoo yourself. Isn't that strange? Like a tattoo
Yeah,
artist, like a mechanic. Mechanic will fix your car properly, but their car's a piece of shit. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, you haven't got time for that kind of shit. It's for everybody else, not for you to do, because who has the time anymore if it's your job?
Hmm.
So is Pikachu your favorite Pokemon?
Yes, he's always been my favorite. That's the reason why I got into Pokemon back in the day was because of Pikachu.
I still have all my cards over here, actually. I got my tripod mounted on the box that my cards are in, but yeah.
That's what I got into. I wasn't really into the card game or into these comic books that I had found in Hawaii that were done in the very Japanese manga
Oh,
style, but
sweet.
they look like regular comic books, but when you open them, the artwork was in all black and white, and it was so well drawn and so detailed. I was like, man, this is
And
beautiful.
so
And that
it wasn't like right to left, like as in manga, or left to right.
regular American comic book, but it was drawn in a very black and white manga style, very detailed, great proportions, and it didn't feel as silly. It
Sure.
wasn't as it was like it was really really cool, and that's what I liked the most out of Pokemon. And I wish I still had those comic books. They were so cool. I found them in a garbage chute.
Jesus.
And I loved them. Yeah.
Pokemon has become quite the laughing stock, because back then it was like, let's find something interesting. Let's turn a bear into some sort of type of Pokemon, and then you kind of get Electabuzz, I suppose, or Ursaring. Now
Yeah.
they've animated car keys or an ice cream cone. I'm like, they've run out of fucking ideas, clearly. Jesus. But yeah, I still have all the cards, like the original series of cards that they came out with in like the like mid-90s. I still have them. I have them in a box, literally right here, with sleeves on them. Some of them are worth like fucking, Jesus, $100. Some of them or more. They're still.
Mm.
I'm not that much of a Pokemon fan anymore. So I'm kind of like, do I get rid of them? Do I hold on to them? I don't know. But yeah,
I'm a I'm a big fan of like Magic cards, Magic the
I still have
Gathering.
all my Magic cards, all of them,
Yeah.
in a box over there. I remember my two favorite cards were Crash of Rhinos and Titanic Bullvox. Eesh, cool cards.
I was into the black decks with all the vampires
Oh,
and all that shit like that.
swamps. Yeah.
Yeah, was
I was more of a mountain guy. I have no idea why. They just seemed to work for me.
yeah.
I like mountains was a cool build to have, but plains just looked lovely. I like the idea of a sunshine open meadow. It was shit. By the way, I think I asked you before, what origin is your surname? Because isn't it Polish or some shit?
No, to be honest, I never met my biological father, so I don't.
So
know.
you have your surname, but you didn't meet the guy.
My actual surname when I was growing up was my stepdad's name, which was Chun, because my stepdad is Asian or what. He just passed away recently,
Oh, bugger.
but he
My condolences, my guy.
He's Japanese, Chinese, and his last name was Chun, and that's what I grew up as. And then when I got 18, I had a fallout with him about some shit, and I changed my last name back to my biological father's name, kind of out of spite, and I kind of always. But it is what it is, you know.
It was really strange hearing an American say surname and not last name. It was kind of weird. I didn't expect that. I'm like, hey. I suppose being in Ireland for a while, they say surname, don't they?
Yes. Yeah.
Because is the language rubbing off on you? Are you using their words like last name?
I pick up a lot of what do you call it? Idiosyncrat. What's the word where you pick?
I will give it to you now. I have a start to hold on. Idiosyncrasies.
Yes, I pick up a lot of things from places I travel, and because I've never sat in one place for so long. Like even in America, I've moved around, so sometimes I talk like I'm from the South, or I've been in New York and I picked up some of that. I lived in Chicago, I picked up some of that.
I'm somewhat similar. I'm a bit of an accent chameleon. But that's only because I wanted to do voice acting for a bit. So I like saved up with all the crappy tattooing I do for a shitty microphone, and go on there and talk like this for a while, haha, and just talk weird shit. And then the weird thing is I can do foreign accents real good, but local ones I struggle with because our accent sounds almost English, but it's so subtle that it's not. So to like to an American, we sound English or Australian, but to anyone local or to an English person or to an Australian, they're like, no, you're not from either of these places. You're not from this place.
Right.
You talk differently to us. Oh. So I always explained to foreigners, like, if you take Australian or English and dilute it to boring, that's our accent. We're right down the boring. We're almost New Zealand, but not quite. They have a bit more flair to theirs. But if you go like north to Joburg and you find the Butts, they call them like the real Chads of our country. It's like, oh, listen, bro, you want to go out there and clap a bizzo, my bro? You know, they're one of those assholes. But like, it's all the slang we have. We have so much slang. Like the Aussies, they got tons of slang and colloquial shit, but they're English. Over here, our slang comes from Xhosa, Zulu, and Afrikaans, which is like our Dutch. So you'll never hear someone say, "Oh, it's nice." It's fucking lekker, bro. Even if you as English as they come, who can't speak the other lingos, it's fucking lekker, my bro. Lekker. It's nice.
Nice.
Lekker, bro. Or like a barbecue is a braai. There's not a single person in this country that calls it a barbecue. If they are, they're spies. They're Western spies. It's a braai. It's a braai, not a barbecue, my bro.
I derived from, what is that?
What's that?
What's the origin of braai?
It's an Afrikaans word. It's just their word. It's like, so Afrikaans is essentially Dutch, but it's been diluted over the years and it's borrowed words from Zulu, Xhosa, English, and kind of just became its own language. So braai is just Afrikaans for barbecue. But like, our braais, they take all day and all night. So you don't attend a braai for the food. You attend the braai for the keir, they call it, the visit. So catering is like, it's just like, catering's visiting, but it's more than that. It's like spending time with friends, drinking the night away, watching the rugby, which is what they do, but I don't. And then at the very end of the night, where everyone's fucking tanked, then you eat. you attend the braai for the event, not the food. So in the end, you're having chops and wors, we call it, which is, big, like German wiener. It's just wors, boerewors, we chow that, and some potato salad. Hell yeah. You'll fucking... Are you a carnivore like myself? Will you definitely prefer meat over shit? Oh, you will have a gay old time, yeah, bro. The food is fucking fantastic, dude. God damn it. That's the one thing I'd miss if I emigrated, is our fucking food is just top notch, man. Jesus.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I gotta come. Yeah, I definitely gotta come visit.
Yeah, we have a braai right in the backyard over here. Fucking big rolls of boerewors. Societies, which is kebabs. Society. Big fucking T-bone steak, my bro. And a potato salad. Oh. Shit, it's amazing. Or like we have something called roosterbrood, which is like it's bread made for braaiing. It's like, it becomes very crusty and it's cheese and
Oh, nice.
Roosterbrood.
Nice.
Try and say that. Roosterbrood. Say that again.
Roosterbread.
Brood.
Brood.
It's close. So a lot of the time, a D will become like a T sound, so roosterbrood.
Roosterbrood.
That's close. Yeah, shit. A valiant attempt, sir. Holy crap. So now what's cool is I can cut our interview down into segments for TikTok, and I can turn the part we're talking Afrikaans into its own thing. And Afrikaans TikTok is a big fucking deal. I take anime, and then I give them Afrikaans dubs, and they get like 400k views like this.
Oh, cool,
Afrikaans
cool.
is I found a fucking landscape there. So like, I'll take a character from Demon Slayer, and they're like fucking go mad, dude.
Oh, nice.
So like he'll say something like fight me, like come, and they'll say come on, bliksemaker. But like you can't do a direct translation because it wouldn't work. But you know, so I speak Afrikaans really well. I grew up bilingual. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Are there any languages you speak? Have the Irish taught you Celtic yet?
No, because I'm in Northern Ireland, which is
fair.
basically UK. And I've been to Italy, and when I was there, I was working on the language, so I kind of spoke it while I was there. Everywhere I go where there's another, try my hardest to learn it and try to speak it. You know, I was in Japan, and I tried to speak that. And I do pretty good with languages when I'm it and I'm learning it and I'm getting help. But once I leave, I start losing it. So
as you would, I mean, they say the best way to learn is to immerse yourself in it.
when I was in Switzerland, I was really speaking French pretty good. Not the best, but I was learning it enough to where if I had stayed, I would have gotten it. And I love languages. Wish I was fluent language. Love languages,
as do I, which is why I turn because Afrikaans it's a very small demographic in the country, and I feel like with time it'll get smaller. So that's why I take anime and I give it an Afrikaans dub, because nothing gets an Afrikaans translation, not really. Back in the day we did, like in the 90s. I'm not sure how familiar you are with apartheid as we call it.
Yep.
So back in those days, Afrikaans was very often dubbed over famous cartoons like Heidi or whatever. Like, you know, so they would often get translations. But by the time that was over, like the last bastion of what you would hear, like international shows become Afrikaans here were like the 90s, and after that it was just moot. That's why this market exists. So what's next for you? Do you plan to stay in Ireland for as long as necessary, or do you plan to go back home?
I plan to go back for a bit in February. I'm gonna stay for the remainder of the year and get out, and then go back and then kind of get like visa stuff sorted out, and then just figure it out. I'm kind of trying to figure things out, you know.
So, are you okay? So I know you're trying to get into that making of that toy of yours, or that figurine. What would you call it?
I wanna create these toys that could be as big as Pops, you know.
Like Funko Pop, yeah. I've got my Nebula from Avengers because fuck, I love it. I love Nebula, dude.
If I can get these off the ground.
Those are fucking cool, dude. Oh my god. Did you make that?
Yeah.
How'd you make it?
Yeah. Well, I designed it, and then I sent it to a 3D programmer and had him do like 3D renders of them, and then had him 3D print.
So they're all like a gothic style, or like a more horror style version of an existing character.
The first two is the Batman and Joker. So I'm gonna do like sets of 4, and the first 4 are DC. So it's gonna be Batman, the Joker, Harley Quinn, and Superman, and then from there, you know, branch out to doing.
I
like
guarantee
Marvel.
you, if you make, I'm not even fucking kidding with this. Everyone sees TikTok as this platform for teeny boppers to dance on. It is the fucking platform to promote anything you want nowadays. I'm not even kidding, dude.
I really think these toys can be huge for me, and if I can get them off the ground and get them duplicated and mass produced, I think I can kind of break away from tattooing and start with toys, and then maybe making I have some ideas for my original characters for toys, and then maybe make a game out of that, and then kind of branch
I can
out.
make a pixel art star-scroller fucking battle game out of that for you. No problem.
I want to game. I have these characters called Graveyard Girls, where they're like, your vampires, your Frankenstein's, but it's all like these females, and I think they're really cool. And I would love to start with figures, and then maybe make a cartoon out of it, and then make a video game.
So
Really,
this video game, what do you envision? Like a modern high graph?
a full
Hmm?
a fighting game.
But like Street Fighter, where it's like purposefully like pixel art, or do you want like high graphics
Well,
taken today?
it would be kind of cool to do something 2D animated, like old school
Pixel art, yeah.
Yeah, Darkstalkers kind of like vibe.
I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah,
And
that'd be good.
I'm working with a developer now. We formed a partnership. He's from Mexico, now living in Arizona, and he's young. So
Okay.
fuck yeah, dude. Let's make some connections, dude. I'm stoked to make that shit. The cool thing is, I know how to monetize a project like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you use Patreon or even Subscribestar. Essentially, you form these tiers, and then tier 1 will be like, you have access to any kind of rough render of a character. Tier 2, which is now $5 or $10, you would see, like, you would be the first to see any mock-up of a full image or a character that we're working on or an animation. Then like tier 3, which is like $50, you'll get early access to the game. You can put suggestions about what you want in the game. Really make it feel like it's for the audience. Then they'll pay, dude. Are you planning on doing any YouTube stuff, or is that also like, I mean, YouTube is a fucking different landscape to TikTok. Its algorithm is so picky, but there's a way.
I don't have the patience to or I don't know. I feel like I should have done that stuff a long time ago. I do have a YouTube channel, but I mostly just post either
Music?
game footage or I'll play my guitar and sing songs.
Yeah, I saw shortly after we first spoke on Instagram, I went looking for that. I was surprised you actually responded. That was because I'll message somebody. I don't do it all the time, but enough over the past decade where I'm like, hey, I like your shit, and just ghost. Like, shit.
No, I try to respond to everybody that responds to me, even if they're just like, hey, I saw this and I really like you and this and that and the other. I'll always. I mean, the way I look at it is we all have our phones on us all the time. There's no reason that because I've reached out to artists that I like and they don't say shit. And I'm just like, motherfucker, I know you have your phone on you. Everybody does.
Yeah.
I know you can just stop like, hey, thank you. That's all you have to say is. But I try not to be like that. I try to respond to everybody that responds to me.
But like, I don't know if the new Instagram update has like removed the little tick to like, hey, they have seen it. I don't think the new one has it anymore. Could be wrong. See,
I don't know.
So I'm gonna use this interview as like a start because I want to do more of these. I like human interaction, man. It's fun, but I don't get to leave the house. So
yeah, I don't do these too often, but I've done a couple. But yeah, this is fun. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool. I think we've covered most of it, and we've been recording for just over an hour now.
Oh, cool.
So I think we have about the same time zone. It's now just before 11 for me, 10 to 11.
Yeah, it's 21. It's like 9.
Okay, so I'm an hour ahead of you, 2 hours ahead of you. Okay, good. It's been fun, Ben. It's been good talking to you.
Yeah.
Finally, face to face.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be in contact. I just
okay.
I have this problem where I always think I'm bothering people, even when clearly I'm not. It's just a random message. So my bad for that. Because fuck. I actually I'm doing a podcast this coming Sunday, so I'm getting into the swing of things, and then thank you for this. This has been informative, but also useful to me.
Perfect.
But I'll definitely be in touch because we can turn this into a juggernaut, man. I believe in you. I believe in this. This will be cool. This is gonna be cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Cheerio.
Peace.
Later.